Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Connor Zilisch has gone from the back of the grid to lead. Connor Zilisch does it!
I think he's going to be an Xfinity and Cup driver.
Still at 17, could be in any form of motorsport he wants. If you don't know the name of Connor Zilisch before, you do now.
It all started in 2011 when I got my first go-kart. So I started racing go-karts in 2011, and me, my two brothers, and my dad would go to the track on the weekends and just run laps for fun. And that turned into racing at the track we were practicing at. And then one thing led to the next, and then I found myself in Europe racing go-karts. I won 7 national championships in the USA from the time when I was 4.5 to when I was 12. When I first got out of a go-kart, I jumped into a Spec Miata. I was 14 or 15 years old, and I finished second in the Mazda MX-5 Cup Championship in my first year competing in that series in 2022. And that kind of led me to get the next opportunity in the Trans Am Series with Silver Hair Racing.
He broke the record for being the youngest Pole Award winner here.
If you don't know the name of Connor Zilisch before this race, you do now.
Hopefully we can get some more wins and make those pole awards count, but it feels good to have those.
Definitely did help me for the years to come with growing into a better race car driver. My first oval race was in 2022. I raced a late model through Chevrolet, and I actually won in my first race, and I ended up winning probably 4 or 5 late model races.
White checker, here we go. Zilisch has breathing room. Off of turn number 4, Connor Zilisch is going to grab himself an all-pro limited win at Florence.
Winning that first race kind of told me, I belong here and I can do this. I can race on ovals and I can compete in NASCAR one day, and that was kind of my first glimmer of hope of the future. I made my ARCA debut last year in 2023 at Watkins Glen, and that's kind of where I first bursted onto the scene in the NASCAR world, and I led almost the whole race and got beat on a late race restart in the last corner of the last lap, and I lost the race in a tough fashion, but at the end of the day I still did what I needed to do, and there was a lot to be proud of from that. 2024, my biggest year yet. I don't even know where to begin. I guess we can go back to where it all started, and I was given the opportunity to join Trackhouse Racing as a development driver, and quite honestly, it was an opportunity that at the time I could not turn down. I don't play a big role in Trackhouse right now, but still getting the opportunity. I go to sim and I try and sit in on meetings when I can and just kind of take in as much as I can and be a sponge. Another cool part of being a part of Trackhouse Racing is my teammates that I have in the Cup Series with Ross and Daniel, and how much that I get to learn from them. I actually go bike riding with Ross basically every week, and a cool part about the two of them is they're so open to help, and they want the best for me too, just like I want the best for them and the Cup Series teams, and they're just good humans to kind of have in my corner whenever I need a little bit of advice. It's so beneficial to me to be a part of it at such a young age and kind of get accustomed to what it's like. The 24 hours of Daytona, 767 laps, one of the most prestigious races in the history of all motorsports, and I won it in my first attempt. I first went to the 24 Hours of Daytona. I was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and I was down in Florida racing go-karts, and my dad and I were like, you want to go make a stop at Daytona and check out the 24 Hours of Daytona? And from that day, I knew it was on my bucket list of a race that I just wanted to compete in. Preparing for the 24 Hours of Daytona is unlike any other race because of how grueling and how, taxing 24 hours of racing is, not only on your body, but your mental and everything else. I slept for 1 hour the whole race. My crew chief Scott played a big role in keeping me focused, and being a rookie in a 24-hour race, you don't realize how long the race is until you're halfway through and you look at the clock and there's 12 hours to go and you think to yourself, man, we're only halfway there. Getting that kind of opportunity to have someone like that in my ear and telling me what to do was really important for getting the opportunity to go out and win that race. The 12 Hours of Sebring is the second biggest sports car race in America, following Daytona, and for this one there was only 3 drivers in the car, and I was the finishing driver in the race. And when you're the finishing driver, you're going up against the best in the other cars too. So I was out there racing against ex-IndyCar drivers and ex-F1 drivers, and it's so crazy to me racing against those guys that I kind of grew up watching and saw on TV as a kid, and now you're out there racing against them. One of the craziest parts about Sebring is when I was in the car, there was probably 5 hours to go in the race. We were just past halfway, and I actually spun out and nearly crashed the car. And it's crazy to think now that we won that race, and if I would have crashed the car, we would have been out of the race, and I would have never been able to bring it across the line and finish the race. But I was the one that came across the line. I was the driver that brought the car home, and kind of learning how to deal with mistakes and learning how to deal with the ups and downs of how races go. My next race was at COTA for my Truck Series debut, my first NASCAR race, and I ended up qualifying on the pole for my first ever race in NASCAR. And first lap of the race, first corner, I went straight and missed the corner and went all the way back to last. I had to pit for some damage, and I ended up going a lap down and got a caution and got back on the lead lap and came all the way from last and finished 4th in what was my first NASCAR race. And it was really cool for me because I don't think anybody expected that of me, and I don't even think I expected that of myself. So getting to go out there and kind of show people who I am, and that was kind of my first time bursting onto the scene in the NASCAR world. So, that was a really cool race for me, even though I feel like I should have won, and I was disappointed after. Still finishing 4th in what was my first race in the Truck Series was good for me, and definitely helped kind of start my year and give me some confidence going into the rest of the season. Throughout this year as well, I've been racing in ARCA, which is the lowest level of NASCAR, and it's been super pivotal for me because I'm getting to race at a lot of the tracks that I'm going to race at next year in the Xfinity Series. But this year I've run 8 races and we've won 5 of them, so it's been a super successful year. And kind of at the beginning of the year I thought it's going to be important for me to go out and learn and not really focus on how I'm finishing, but my focus has kind of shifted as the year's gone on, and now I'm out here racing for a championship. The seat time in ARCA that I've had is preparing me for my full-time job next year, going full-time NASCAR Xfinity Series racing with Junior Motorsports in the 88. It's going to be a big jump for me, racing full-time, 33 weekends. It's going to be a lot of racing and a lot to learn for me. I'm going to be going to places for the first time for a lot of the tracks that we go to, and the car is going to be new to me, but I've got 4 races this year to go out and learn before we start the season to chase a championship. I want to be competitive in every series I get in, and I want to be able to compete at the highest level in whatever car I'm racing in, whether it's NASCAR or IMSA with sports cars, or if I go run the Indy 500 one day, I want to be able to go out and compete in anything I get in. And I work really hard to make sure I go out and I don't half-ass any series that I go racing in. And that's one thing that is really important to me is working hard and making sure that I'm prepared for every race that I show up to. Do I feel proud? Yeah, proud is an understatement. In 2019, if I looked back and said, this is where I would be today, I would call you crazy. And sometimes, honestly, hard to take in at times just because of how much is coming at me so fast. And sometimes I kind of just have to step back and sit there and kind of think about where I am and where life has taken me. It's been a whirlwind of a journey, and I still have a long way ahead of me, hopefully, but years like this are what keep me coming back and keep me working hard. 18 years, 10 countries, 10 series, 11 wins this year, and 1 wild journey. So that's kind of how I got here.
Connor, dinner's ready.
Mom, give me a minute. I'm doing something. You think we can cut that?